And we're live. Good morning, everybody. There's your girl, Martha D. Staub, owner of MDMC Entertainment.
And I'm Mark Schroeder. I'm the other half in Albuquerque.
How's everyone doing today?
Oh,
How are you doing, Mark?
it's been a long week, but you know what? I'm glad it's almost over.
Yeah, for sure. Let me see. Let us see if we can share the stream before we get started. Here we go. You wanted the YouTube.
Let me see.
Oops, sorry. You wanted the YouTube link, right, Mark?
Yeah.
All right, let me send it to you. We're trying to spread all of our knowledge everywhere. I'll put it on my LinkedIn. Yeah, we'll get started here in a couple minutes. I'm really excited. Our LinkedIn is booming.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
All right. Since I can't broadcast live on LinkedIn yet, we're just going to have to show everybody this way. And then let me share on our personal pages. It's kind of cool how people can create a watch party on Facebook now of us.
I know.
Let me see here. Share. I'm going to share onto my. It's kind of cool how people can create a watch party on Facebook now of us. Shut up.
Hold on.
Oh, is that you or me?
That was me.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Sure.
I was trying to grab the link and.
Mm-hmm. All right. I think. Yeah. Okay. I am now on my Facebook. Okay, we should get some people rolling in. I'm really excited to see what we got here. All right. Put it on LinkedIn, put it on here. All right. Are we good to go?
I think we are.
All right. So today's episode is about when's the right time to start your business. Obviously, Mark and I have ended up in the entrepreneurship world. But I want to pass it over to Mark because he has a really cool. I think his journey is a little bit more interesting than mine.
Where do I start? Journalism or why I got into PR?
Well, take us back, like way back. Okay, so you finished high school, and then
Yep.
Did you jump into college right away, or did you wait a while?
Okay. Well, I did go into college.
Mm-hmm.
I went to New Mexico State,
Mm-hmm.
and going to the state, obviously, I lasted about a semester and a half there.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, was I ready to go back to school, go to college right then and there? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
And then I tried a local community college here in Albuquerque about a year or so later.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't work.
Right.
And then third time's the charm. I was working in a call center in Albuquerque, and I was like, okay, what am I doing with my life? And the answer was nothing. And I was on a break at the time, and I said, you know what, let's just look at schools. And I stumbled back across Eastern.
Mm-hmm.
And I remembered Eastern at one point offered me a free ride.
Mm-hmm.
And since they offered me a free ride, I figured, okay, if they offered me a free ride, then the likelihood is they'll at least let me in.
Right.
Um, and with that, when they decided to, um, and then I just kind of dove right into it. I mean, I ended up talking to the department chair at the time, Dr. Schroeder.
Oh, Doc Schroeder was the chair at the time.
Oh yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That was 2004, and this is before the Com building was built.
Dang, is that why he was so grumpy whenever I had class with him? He got dethroned at one point, I guess.
Um, there were issues.
Oh, that sucks. I didn't know about that.
None of which I can actually verify.
Right. We
Um,
we won't speculate here.
but overall, he's a good man. He's
Mhm.
retired now. Um,
Do you keep in touch with him?
Here and there.
Hmm.
I think he just kind of Facebook stalks everybody.
I haven't stalked him. I should probably go stalk him and see what he's doing.
um, I think he's just enjoying retirement.
Hmm.
But beside that, um, you know, prior to all this, I had worked in journalism,
Hmm.
and I'm like, journalism doesn't pay much.
No, it doesn't. Especially now.
Um, I mean, if you're lucky, let's say a starting wage in New Mexico is about 24,000.
I made about that when I started at the newspaper.
Um, and 24,000 for New Mexico is okay
Right.
if you're single
Hmm.
and no kids.
Hmm.
Um, when I learned, um, but at the time, obviously I didn't have my kids until I was older.
Hmm.
Um, but it all kind of fell into place. I ended up working with a very smart man um, in Eastern's PR department by the name of Wendell Sloan. Um,
I didn't know Wendell. I didn't.
Crazy. He's a crazy cat, but he is very good at what he did.
Hmm.
Um, Very patient. Um, Somebody who's now retired, but I still respect the man. He's
Hmm.
just kind of, I mean, he moved from Portales back to outside the Dallas area.
Hmm.
Um, he's just kind of hanging loose and whatnot. But on occasions, I will talk to him. But you know, I yeah, I mean, he's another one I respect. But fast forwarding a little bit, obviously, there was many people who told me that um, I couldn't get my degree,
Oh, that sucks. But
and
you proved them wrong.
and then some.
Hmm.
I mean, I finished my bachelor's, took a few years off, and then our dear friend Patty Dobson approached me and says, "I want to talk to you about something." And I'm like, "Uh oh." I'm like, what did I do?
Right.
And then we started talking, and then we ended up, um, and then after in the middle of the conversation, I looked at it and I looked at her and said, "Why me
Right.
for a master's degree?" And she's like, "You've come a long way, blah 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 blah." And I went, "Okay," and figured why not? Because one of the goals I have still is I want to teach on the university level as an adjunct,
That'd be cool.
um, but also continue to do everything else that I want to do.
Hmm.
You know, um, working with MDMC, working with my own businesses and
Right.
whatnot.
Yeah.
Um, I've always been an entrepreneur. Um,
Hmm.
it started back in middle school.
Yeah.
Um, it's amazing the stuff I could do.
Yeah. I think people are real quick. Let's say hi to Ryan from Morphin Network, one of our big supporters. Thank you, Ryan, for joining us. Um, no, I think it's funny how people land into entrepreneurship.
I mean, and it was. For me, it was complete accident. I mean, the thing is I just kind of started it and I went, oh, I like this. This is fun.
Mm-hmm. And then, so then you graduated, and then you got your master's, and then shortly after, did you start Shoulder Creative Services right away after you got your master's, or am I
No,
missing a piece of the timeline here?
um, actually, there's a huge timeline.
Oh, okay.
Um, I started it. I started Shoulder Creative April 1st, 2008.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the reason I started it then is because I was having a hard time finding a real job.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, it was the economic downturn at the time,
Mm-hmm.
um, here and there, blah, blah, blah. And then I found that by, I just figured, all right, what the heck? I'll just start my own business and see where
Mm-hmm.
things go.
Right.
I mean, you know, part of the way I paid for my college degree,
Right.
my undergrad, was selling online.
Mm-hmm.
I got to know the people in the post office at Eastern extremely well.
Really? So, what year did you graduate with your bachelor's degree?
That would have been 2008.
Okay, and then you started your business right after college.
Literally. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then how long were you in operation for? Oh, for a good while actually. I just bought out your entire thing. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Sorry.
About a little over 10 years
Mm-hmm.
plus.
Yeah.
The thing is that it really made sense for me at the time just to do it.
Right.
And now, when we combined forces, obviously we've found that a lot of business, a lot of the data gathering that we do,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the, finding the different
Yeah.
markets to tap. I mean, the thing is that, you know, owning a business is not easy
It's not.
by any means.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Digging up, documents like, um, I mean, our business is based completely on data.
Right.
And the thing is that if you don't know how to hunt for said data, you're not going to last very long.
No.
Um, because that way you can kind of sit there and gauge, okay, what new businesses have opened up that, you know, could feasibly be um, worth the hill of beans.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, Building a social media presence, building a small e-commerce site.
Mm-hmm.
It just really depends on, you know, I mean, and to top it off, the pandemic really flipped business on its ear.
I mean, especially for us, I think 2020, I was talking about 2020 in like November, December, thinking, I started to get, the travel down, like, I was getting requests to go to all these places, and I was like, 2020 is going to be an amazing year for us. This is a great time to just kick off and do really great things. And it turned out not to be, I'm in a dispute with somebody right now. And I'm like, you do understand that my projections are nowhere near where I thought they were going to be, because, I projected MDMC making X amount of money, and it's not that at all. It's like completely, it's not even, I can't even put it on a board as to what we were projecting and what we're making now. And it's just like, it's kind of sad, because it's like we had such big things in the pipe, and, didn't work out that way.
Yeah, I mean, basically the last biggest thing that we did was LAX Fan Fest.
Yeah.
Um, it was definitely an experience, and um, the thing is that with the business itself, um, you know, I mean, you look at LAX Fan Fest, and it was a reasonably large success. I mean,
Yeah.
when you have guys like the Undertaker showing up,
Hmm.
you know, and with lines wrapped around a building,
Yeah. It
um,
was insane.
you know, I mean, it was still cool that I got to meet Candace Michelle. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
sorry, I was
Candace,
I was all giddy.
yeah, Candace is a sweetheart. She's so sweet. I love her to pieces. So you started your business completely right after getting your degree, your bachelor's degree. And then you went back to school and got your master's while maintaining your business, right?
Right.
So how did that work out? That because that's
Uh,
36 credits, or was that more?
um,
That's at least 2 years worth of work.
2.5.
2.5. Okay.
Um, and yeah, our dear friend Patty Dobson kind of scolded me for the fact um, that I didn't walk at graduation. She's like, "I wanted to hood you,"
Oh, yeah.
and I'm like, "Well, I don't have time to go down there."
Yeah. I'm actually considering if things work out a specific way, I would love to get my another master's degree. And I don't know if it would be in communication. I think it'd be more of an MBA, but I don't know. I'd ask Patty, like, can you make an appearance to hood me here? I know this is a business college, but I don't know. That's cool though. I mean, I got a master's degree and I didn't do the ceremony, so I didn't get hooded either. I have the hood, I just didn't get hooded.
Right. I mean, with the business itself, I mean, you know, it's definitely an ups and downs type of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, did I learn a lot? Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Um, the thing is that over the last 10 plus years, our field has become more data driven.
Absolutely. Do you know how much mining is done now? Like, I don't think people know about data mining, and I think it's an interesting. It's almost controversial. I don't know if you saw there's a documentary on Netflix. I think it's called Hacked, where
Hmm.
it's based off of the analytical. What is it? Analytical. I don't know. Some British Analytica or something like that. I forget what it's called. And they were working with Mark Zuckerberg to mine data to kind of turn the election. Cambridge Analytica. That's who it
There
is.
you go.
And it's this whole documentary about how Facebook is using data to sway people in a certain way. And I don't know why people are so surprised that that's happening, because duh, it's literally a data platform. And so even when we create ads, I don't know if we get into. I want to create a book on how to create ads on Facebook because it's so important. I actually turned around one guy's business where he was like, I'm not doing well with ticket sales. And I'm like, well, what are you doing? And he showed me how he was doing his Facebook ads. I was like, you're doing it completely wrong. Let me show you how to do it right. And then he said, he so lovingly said, it's like you gave me a pearl, and it just blew my doors open to my business. I was like, yeah, well, that's what I can do. And but the way that you can set your Facebook ads, the way you can target people is insane. I think it's like holy shit, like, or I need to swear jar. But it's insane how much data is collected from Facebook to be able to make that type of how you targeting specific people. So, in data mining right now, I mean, doing that with one client right now. We're mining a lot of data out of another platform, and it's, you know, it's not anything new, and I don't think it's almost like use your power for good. I don't know if people would be surprised. I don't know. I mean, are you surprised, Mark? Is that why you don't post a lot on social media, because they have your data?
Um, no, I basically post. I post when I want to.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously, I'll post things that are of interest to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my goal is, I mean, even on my own personal page, I try not to sit there and post too many like political things, for example.
Right.
Um, it's not a matter of I'm afraid of offending people. The thing is that I make fun of both sides very equally.
I'm actually getting trolled by somebody right now sending me articles of things I don't like. I'm just like, I'll send a GIF of a rolling eye or something because I'm not going to get into it with you.
Right. I mean, and that's the biggest thing. I mean, the thing is that if you don't watch what you say on social media, it's going to sit there and bite you. Um,
You know, I have a really good example of that, and it's Hollywood related. There's a friend that we know. I don't know if you really know him or not, but I'm going to keep it as vague as possible because I don't want to name names. But there's a person I know that I've worked with for quite a while, and this person is very vocal, and he says a lot of weird things, and which is fine, whatever. But I think I have a very strong feeling what he's done on social media, and he's called out people. There was someone who was saying they were something bad had happened to them, and he basically told them to shut the up. And and then he had to go back and backtrack and apologize. And then this brand new series came out this year, and it brought back a lot of characters from a past series into this current series, and they killed off that guy that I know very violently. And I'm just sitting here like, oh. And I was like, I actually called him because I was writing for an entertainment piece at one point, and I was like, yo, has anyone talked to you about this? And he was like, no. And I said, do you mind giving me a quote, because I was going back to my journalism days. And he was like, yeah, I'm really pissed. And I was like, was it something you did? Is it something, because I said, you know, a lot of people on that show, the cast, the executive producers, the producers, like, how does this happen and no one tell you? And he's like, I contacted one of my co-stars because, obviously they had to interact on it. They even replaced him for his death. That's how bad that is. And I was like, it has to be because of the shit you've been saying. I'm sorry. It has to be because of what you were saying on social media. That is the only reason they would kill you off so violently. I mean, that has to be it. And I think it resonates with that. It's like your consequences, you do have consequences for what you say. I even saw another motion in another fandom where this guy was like, bring me back, and he was doing hashtags and he was tagging the production company putting on the thing that he wanted to be back on, and he kept doing it, and then I kid you not, because this guy's a loose cannon. It's one of the reasons why I kind of stopped working with him, among other reasons. But I kind of just distanced myself because it was just not good. But he went off and made fun of somebody on the series currently, and that completely dropped everything of the work that was going into possibly bringing him back. And I talked to people that are closer in the Hollywood scene, closer to those producers and those studios, and they were like, oh, they knew how much he wanted to come back. They knew about his campaign, and they also knew how bad he blundered that entire thing to ruin it. So it is so important that you be careful what you say on social media, because literally opportunities can just go away. And then you're like, oh, well, that's why your favorite character is not going to be there, because probably said something stupid on Twitter or Facebook or IG Live or Live. I don't know.
Well, and you're exactly right. I mean, a lot of people, um, and that's why you know people like them need good PR people.
Well, and the thing is, and I've worked with both of these people in a certain sphere, I guess.
Mhm.
The first one that got killed off, I haven't really worked with him that much lately. It's been a while since I've worked with him, and and I knew because I actually went to a show. I took a celebrity talent to a show, and this person was in the same sphere, like the same fandom as the person that got killed off,
Mhm.
and the negative connotation I got from this person. And she was, she was like, well, I don't know if I really would trust anybody that's associated with him. And I was like, excuse me? Like, I know him. We're not best friends. Calm down. But, and I'm like, okay, if you have that reaction to that, that's insane. And then on top of this, I haven't even told you this, but there was a reunion of some sorts online. Obviously, we're still in the COVID, we're still doing virtual things. And I saw there was a reunion episode of all these people coming back and doing a sit down on Zoom. And I tagged my friend. I was like, "Hey, how come you're not on this?" My comment was deleted immediately, and I was like, "Oh, this person has some bad juju." And I didn't even hit them up to say, "Hey, did you even see my comment?" Nothing. I'm just like, dang, like it is insane how much your actions really can hurt you if you're not careful.
Right. Again, it goes
I'll
back.
tell you after. I'll tell you what this was afterwards.
Okay. I think I have a vague idea, but we'll talk later.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't even want to say what fandom it is because people will know right away.
yeah. I mean, it's really the fact that people are you know I mean, it's kind of like the point of that Facebook, Instagram, Twitter has kind of become the global public square.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that anybody who's anybody can be the town crier,
Yeah.
and it gives them that soapbox to sit there and spew
Mm-hmm.
whatever is on their mind at the time, whether
Right.
or not it's true or anything else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you have to understand that by doing all of that, um, people, it's going to alienate people if
Mm-hmm.
they're not careful.
And I think that's important to know because I know businesses that are just starting out, think because I have a Facebook page, well, I don't need marketing. That's not necessarily true. I think you have to be able to utilize your pages correctly and know how to use them. And a lot of people don't. They're like, we're just going to post and people are going to come. And I was like, sure.
Well, and that's the biggest thing too is that um, you know you the consistency of posting is a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you're doing it every day, every other day, it really depends on the industry.
So when you started your business, were you very actively on Facebook and all the social medias to get business, or how did you get
Actually,
business?
that's how I did it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I ended up. Um, I mean, there was at one point that I had to take a job that um, I became to realize that I was not fit for,
Mm-hmm.
but um, I built up enough contacts
Mm-hmm.
that it was more worth it to me to walk away from it.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and since I built it up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, that's a large part of how I did it. Is basically I used that job that I wasn't at that long for, and that's the other reason why I wanted to stay an entrepreneur is because I just couldn't stand working for somebody else.
Oh, can we get about me now? Can we talk about me and how I got here? I
Um,
actually know that's one of the reasons why you put this on here as the list on. You actually said pertains to this.
mhm. Go ahead. You're, you're itching. Go for it.
I'm itching. I mean, I get it. I feel bad because, I tell my mom this. I actually told my partner in crime. I said, I wonder, my dad has passed. He passed away in 2008. And that was, Jesus Christ, that was the toughest thing I've ever gone through in my life. And he always just wanted me to do well, to go to college, to, sky's the limit when you have your degree. And, he's like, I think you can do this. I'm really excited, because I remember that last semester. That was my first semester at Eastern, but that was like the last semester we spent together. So he saw what I was working on. He really got to see my excitement. So he was really proud. And then, a semester in, he passed away. So I had 3 more semesters to go until I graduated. So he didn't even get to see me walk across the stage. But, he always, I think I come from super, super humble beginnings. I was raised in Roswell, New Mexico, which is a teeny tiny town in the southeastern part of New Mexico where nothing really happens. I think you probably know of it because of the UFO crash, but it's pretty much it. And I've known for a long time that I always wanted to leave town because there's really nothing there. Even the degrees that I was going on, the work that I could do with this degree, I was like, I can't do any of this in Roswell. There's nothing out there that would do that. And, so I pushed forward, got my bachelor's, got my master's, and I left town. I mean, immediately after I graduated college in 2009, I was on a plane the next day to North Carolina to go see my boo. And then we moved to North Carolina. I was like, whoa, there's nothing here either. And that's where it became very strategic because, he said, where do you want to move that could get you a job? And I said, we either need to go up north to DC, to Quantico, or we need to go to California. I'd rather us go to California because I don't want to stay on the East Coast very long because it costs way too much money to come back home. I'd rather be able to get in the car and drive, over a state and come, be there. And luckily we got the order and we got to go. But before that, he deployed to Afghanistan. So I had to go back to Roswell anyway. So I was home for a good while. I did substitute teaching again, hated it. Ended up at the Daily Record for my first year, my first legit job out of college, which was amazing. I had so much fun there. I had made so many connections and so many friends. And then when I got to California is when I really couldn't figure out how to get into public relations. And I landed in marketing. And then the first real job I had, I had a mentor that, ironically, he passed away on my birthday. I still don't know why he did. I think he did that so I would never forget him. He's like that. He became a father figure to me. And he really put me under his wing and said, he was the first person in the actual professional sphere to tell me, you know what, you are good at what you do. You can do what you want. I think you don't understand how talented you are. And I'm like, whatever. Everyone says they got talent. And, I kind of took it with a grain of salt, but it was one of those weird things. As we continued to work together, it was almost like anytime I talked to him, I felt like I was a badass. I was like, I could totally do this and I could do that. And, and then I got into, when I started doing MDMC as a side hustle, I was having more fun at the side hustle than I was at my 9-to-5. And I think this is an important thing for people. When is the right time to go into business? I was kind of forced into it. If I could go back and, if I had Marty McFly's, time traveling car, I would totally do it differently. But I would suggest go into business when you have the funds to take care of all the legalities that go with it. I didn't have that luxury. I was doing a 9-to-5 and I was hating my 9-to-5 because it just was not stimulating enough. It wasn't challenging enough. and I was having more fun doing the side hustle. Like I just got more out of it, you know? And then I was forced to come into the realization like, all right, you no longer have a 9 to 5, you're broke. And I remember people telling me, well, it's time to do your business. And I'm like, I have no money. How am I going to do it? I need a paycheck. Let's figure out how to do that first. So I had I gotten a warning or something that, you know, this was going to happen the way it happened, I would have definitely put my money into getting my corporation papers done correctly, my business license correctly. I mean, I just got a list from my tax guy. I know that you had asked me, Mark, you had asked me what my tax guy sent me. So I need the articles of incorporation, uh, an EIN, which I should be getting from the IRS here soon.
That's not bad. That's an easy get.
Form 2553, election by a small business corporation, statement of information, bylaws for you to fill out. Like, I still have a ton of things. Then they gave me the tax calendar, and I'm like, what in the world is all this? I have yet to go through it, but I need to get it done here soon. And so I think if I was smart enough back then, I should have gotten, probably by then, probably should have just gotten an LLC because I was still making money at that point. But I didn't want to pay the high taxes that came with an LLC. So you did it differently. And so I think one thing I would really suggest for people, if you want to go into business, is have your money ready to go. Like, make sure if you are working a 9 to 5, do what I did. I would work my 9 to 5, and then I would come home, work on the side hustle. And I would work on, social media for people and, projects and things like that. And then I go back to work. So I was collecting money, but what I was doing with that money was spending it at conventions where I should have been throwing it into my business. But I think what freaked me out was I didn't want my 9 to 5 to know that I was building a business, because I know that other people that worked where I worked were doing businesses too. And I knew that they weren't liking it. They think they were getting wind of it. So that scared me. That's why I never did it. And looking back now, I should have just taken care of it when I did. Instead, I had to wait a good whole year to get onto that. But, what ended up happening was, I think I was job hunting, 4 months in, and I had a very hard time trying to find a job, and it was weird because, people were telling me, oh, but you're so good at this, and you're so good at that. And like, people would look at my portfolio and they were like, you're amazing. My resume was dope. Okay. Mine was not a simple, white paper with text. No, it was like pristine with color. And I don't know. And I go back and I think about it. I'm like, why wouldn't you freaking hire me? The objective is to market yourself. And if you don't know how to market yourself, then you can't get a job. And I thought I was doing everything right. I had a virtual portfolio. People can look online and see it. I had, this amazing, like almost like a white sheet, but it was like, boom, in your face. So I don't know if I came off as too expensive. I don't know if I still don't know why no one would hire me. It was weird.
And and you're right. I mean, and that's the same thing with me, is that they look at my resume and go, yeah, you're overqualified for this job. Yeah. And the thing is that I was okay with it. And
I was not.
Well, and I'm like, you know what? Fine. If you don't think I'm right for this, screw off.
You're not worth me. Like,
yeah. I mean, on the flip side of it, though, when I started working for the travel agency that I work with, I applied to be a travel agent. But the owner of the agency found that he's like, I have another idea for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I fell into their social media.
What pissed me off, I actually did, oh God, for some reason, I don't know why, I don't know if you've ran into this, but there were some companies that I was interviewing for that wanted a drawn out marketing plan. And so there was a really great marketing agency in Carlsbad that I was trying to get into. And I had to do a presentation. I had to do like a full on, like a couple of email marketing samples. I had to do their social media, like, like I calculated all their numbers. I did the whole bit as if this person was a client. And I went up there and presented, and I gave them, like, it was a beautiful presentation. It's actually still in my portfolio because I was like, you know what, the hell with you guys. You didn't hire me. I'm going to use this as an example for people to see. And I didn't get it because I wasn't HubSpot certified. I said, wait, really? This is what you're basing your decision on? And he's, I talk, and the thing is, I clicked with a lot of these owners and these CEOs, like, and some of these guys were men. I don't know. Like, I click better with men than I do with women. And he was like, look, I'm really sorry. I really did like you. I really thought you were great. Please, apply again when you have your certification. I was like, okay. So it kind of gave me some hope, but that was like May of like last year. Yeah, literally a year ago. And I've still seen their stuff, and I see some of their job openings. I'm like, oh, whatever. And it wasn't, I think it was right around mid-June where I was like, you know what? I'm just going to the hell with it. We are going to push forward. We are going to push off MDMC. We're going to start getting in people's faces. And I started doing more pictures. I remember I bungled this entire beach photo shoot that I wanted to do. And my partner in crime is the worst at taking pictures. And I was just mad. I was like, you know what? I'm not doing this. I'm going home. I'm just pissed. Like, and he was like, why are you mad? I was like, because you're dumb. I'm trying to take some decent pictures and you can't take them for me. And we're broke and don't have any money to hire somebody to do this. And that was when I got on my way back. That's when I got an email from the last job that I got. It was a part-time job, allegedly part-time. And they wanted me in for an interview. So I went downtown. And I was like, oh, this could probably change everything. And I remember going into the interview, and I walked into this office. It was really pristine and really nice. And I was like, wow, if MDMC ever makes it, this is what this place is going to look like. And then I met with the owner, and we had a decent talk. And like, she kind of reminded me of my mentor because she was very forceful. I don't know, very stern, but very forceful, but also wanted like to see the good in you. I don't know. It was really odd. I think it was like a mind effer. And I was like,
yeah.
I went home, and I was driving home, and I had this huge headache, and I was like, I can't work for this person. This is insane. And then they hired me. And I was like, oh no. And I thought going in, because it was more like, it's almost like what MDMC does, but not really. They do it at that time. They were doing it at a very different scale. And I just had a very hard time conforming to working there because, this was also a very new company. It was a startup too. And what got me was that the rules would change every day. And one thing I didn't like was that when I was doing something or working on something, like I had to write an email marketing campaign, and I had to make it sound like it was coming from their voice. And I would write it, and this person would read it and like say, I don't like this, start over. And I'm like, this took me an hour. And they're like, start over. Because it had to be like 600, 800 words. I'm like, damn, okay. So I rewrote it, did it again. They said, I don't like it, start over. And I'm like, okay, this is the third draft. And then one thing that I didn't like was they were always saying, wow, I could easily just outsource this to somebody. I mean, how much do I pay you an hour? I could get that cheaper from somewhere else. And I just sat there like, I've never been spoken to like this before. I was like, okay. And I was like, oh my God. And I really tried. Like, it was something I really tried to like, and I really tried to do well. But it became apparent, I think, within the first 3 weeks that it just was not a fit. And I was like, all right, well, let me see how long I can hold on to these paychecks. Because at that point, I had already put into my head that MDMC was going to happen whether I liked it or not. We're going to push forward. And so what I did was I started collecting paychecks, and I was like, all right, well, let me start, doing this, start doing that. I was getting interviews for some of my talent. I was like, hey, can you mention MDMC in this? They're like, oh, hell yeah, we love you. And I was like, okay, cool. And so, just trying to get that going, because I just was miserable. It was a part-time job, but they label it part-time, but they have you working from like 9 to like 4 sometimes. And I remember I hated the rules.
I can tell you exactly why they labeled it part time.
So that you don't have to deal with it. I think it's to avoid the law, right?
Pay you benefits.
That too. That was it too. And it was funny because this person was just very anal about being on time. So if work started at 9, I had to be in the office by 8:50. If not, I was considered late. And I would walk in like 8:52, 8:53. Because, if it's like, I knew that the threshold was 5 minutes before 9. So, I'd walk in and stuff. I'd set my stuff down. And this person just like, it was like, this person woke up in a bad mood every day. And they're like, why are you late? And I said, what are you talking about? And I'm like, it's 8:53. You're supposed to be here at 8:50. We start at 9. And I said, yeah, we start at 9. I'm here at 8:53. Like, we sat there and argued about the time. I was like, you have got to be insane. And then it was funny because we had our group meetings at the big conference room in the middle of the room, because it was an open office. There was there were some offices that were glass that you could go into, but there was no privacy in there. There was nowhere to hide in that. Like, it became like a scary place to be in because you couldn't hide anywhere. And I remember the meeting started at like 10 or 10:30, and me and my other coworker were sitting at our desks, and I thought we were just going to sit at our desks and listen to her talk. And she'd sit at the table, and she's like, "Where's everyone at?" And I was like, "We're right here." You're supposed to be at this table at 10:30. I was like, "We were?" And she's like, "You are now late." I was like, "Oh my God." I was like, "Okay." And like, we kind of looked at each other like, what the hell? And she was like, what's that look for? I'm like, nothing. Like, you just could not, there was nothing. I just felt like you could not do anything right with this person. And, I did that job for 3 months. The last straw for me mentally, like my mental break point was, we were given a task to almost like a marketing plan as to how do we get more business for us. And I drew it out, and I honestly felt there was something wrong with the product. If the marketing doesn't work, there's something wrong with the product. But I never said that out loud. I gave her the cliff notes. I'm like, all right, this is what we should do. Here. And again, she's like, nope, doesn't work. And I said, why not? You don't know. We haven't tried. And so it just won't work for this industry. I said, are you sure? Because I've done this in the past and it's worked flawlessly. I think this is something we should try. And she's like, you refer to the past a lot. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's where I came from. That's how I know what I know. And she's like, I just don't think you're a good marketing strategist. And I'm sitting here like, I'm over here looking at like my entire career. I think it's like 8 years old now. And I'm thinking about how many millions of dollars I've pumped into businesses. And I'm just like, I'm a bad strategist. If I was a bad strategist, I would not have made it that far, And I'm like, and I told her, I said, well, I think that's your opinion. It's not my opinion, but if that's your opinion. She said, what does that mean? I said, I don't agree with your opinion. I think I'm a great marketing strategist. And then she kind of sat there mad because I defended myself. And I'm like, don't think that's the case. And then we kind of I think she like dismissed us at that point. And I was like, all right, bye. And I was like, it came to the point where I was coming home and I was just like drained. And, my partner in crime was like, you looked better unemployed. This looks awful. What's going on? And I remember, and it's just like, I'm so dumb. I think I remember we do walks around our complex with our dogs at night. And that's a time where we really brainstorm our ideas. And I just remember like bawling. I'm like, I don't understand. Like, has my ship sailed? Am I not good anymore at what I do? Am I just not a good marketer? Have I lost it? Have I just been out of the game too long? Because at that point it had been, let's see, 7, 8, 9, probably about 9 months since my last job. And I was in the middle of working this new job, and I'm just like, Jesus, have I just lost it that much that I'm just out of tune? And he's like, no, this person's dumb. Like, if they don't understand your worth, there's no point in convincing them otherwise. I think you just got to ride the tide. And I'm just like, ugh.
Your
Okay.
partner in crime is very wise.
I don't know why he's so wise, but he is. And it was crazy because I'm just like, let me just write it out. And then I was promised to go on a trip overseas with this person. Thank God that didn't happen. I don't think I could have traveled with them. I probably would have killed them. No joke. Hit them with a pillow or something. And luckily I didn't get to go on that trip, but me and my other coworker, we spent the whole week working by ourselves. And we were not given any stipulations as to what we were supposed to produce that week. They're just like, come here and work, do your tasks, and then, try to get some calls in or whatever. But they also said, our calendars are booked. Don't book any calls. I remember that specifically because they were like, our calendars are booked out. Don't do anything. But I remember we were still trying to get people in. What I hated about that job was it turned more into like a sales job. It's like, oh, you need to close X amount of calls. I'm like, I'm not in sales. I don't know this shit. Like, I mean, I know sales and marketing go hand in hand, but they're two different ideologies. And I'm like, I'm not a salesperson. And I'm just like, hey, do you want to grow your business? And of course, because of this person, people really didn't trust it to begin with. It seemed very sketch. Okay. And people were like, no, I'm good. And like, I would try and I would do all the things that they said, and it just didn't work. And that's where I was like, there's something wrong with the product itself, because we're not being clear as to what we can do. And I remember that, I don't know, it was weird because that Monday, my boss was supposed to come back that Tuesday. That Monday, I was like, hey, her flight schedule. When is she coming in? And she said, well, she lands, at 8 o'clock or so. And I was like, okay. And she's like, why? I said, I have a really weird feeling. And she's like, what do you mean you have a weird feeling? I said, I feel like something's coming. And I know it's the boss, but I feel something's not right. Like, I just feel she's going to pop through the door like any minute. And then we were sitting there wondering because, there was an Alexa in the office. And I was like, I wonder if this thing can like go back and like listen to conversations and you can replay it. I was wondering about that too. I was like, she probably has cameras in here too. Like, we sat there, we were like looking around because we had actually not worked in the office. We went downstairs to the coffee shop because we didn't want to risk talking crap and someone overhearing. But that Monday, I remember just having that really strong feeling that something was going to happen. And then that Tuesday, she came back and I was not thrilled. I was like, oh, hey. And I wasn't that rah cheerleader person. Because I remember one time I came in and she's like, oh my God, we just made this company a boatload of money. And I was like, how did we do that? And she's like, sit down. And I was like, okay. And I sat there and she told me like what she did, which was very elementary and basic in the marketing world. And I'm like, and I try to like, I was listening to her. And I was like, oh, that's great. That's great. And like, I don't know if I just wasn't as enthusiastic, but I was trying to be. Like, I don't know if you're probably not a Sex and the City fan, but when Miranda tries to smile, she's like, I'm going to hurt myself. That's how I felt, because I couldn't really like, I was like, well, yeah, that's basic marketing. I didn't want to tell her that, but I was like, that's awesome. And I think she could tell I was faking it. She's like, go sit down. I was like, okay. I was like, I don't want to be here. Like, don't call on me to say, and it was weird. But when she came back, we were all brought in separately into her little office, and my friend went in first. And I'm just in there working on a report for the meeting, because we had a meeting immediately after we were done meeting individually. And then so she brought me in and she's like, yeah, I don't think I have to let you go. And I said, why? And she's like, you're not bringing money into the business. And I was like, I did bring money into the business. I have 3 clients that we're doing stuff for. What are you talking about? And she's like, yeah, your time here is done. And I was like, great, because I just did not fit into this crazy box you're trying to put me in. And she's like, what's that supposed to mean? I said, I just never fit in here. Like, I just could not. I don't know what you wanted from me. I don't know what your deal was. I did everything and more. Thank you. I got up and I left. Like, I had to leave my computer there. I had to go get my parking garage thing that opened the door downstairs to get into the parking garage. And I left the laptop on the desk, and I got my lunch, and I got everything out. And my friend's like, yo, what are you doing? And I said, oh, I just got fired. And she's like, what? And I said, yep, deuces. And I came back, and it was funny because I made friends on that floor. Like, there were some pretty cool businesses in that floor. And I went and knocked on all the doors, like, hey, today's my last day. And they were like, what? And I was like, they're like, she's crazy. I was like, dude, I know. And even people on the floor, there were marketing firms, couldn't understand what we were doing. And they looked into us, and I was like, I don't know how to tell you how it works either, but it works, I guess. And it was just a really bad, like, I don't know, maybe it's because the way the seasons work here, because I started in July and ended in October. It felt like summer ended, because right when you get into October, it's like the fall. And right. And yeah, so I was like, ugh, it was like a crazy summer working at some crazy office. And I was like, the hell with this. I'm done. I'm going into business for myself. And I remember you were my first call. I texted my partner in crime. And then you and I talked all the way till I got to his office. And I was relieved and scared at the same time. But I was like, I cannot work for crazy people, because I was working on accounts I didn't care about. You know, I was doing projects I didn't care about. I was like, this is boring to me. And of course, we're not making any money for them. This shit's boring. But yeah, I mean, I think it took a while. And I think I started really pushing the content on Facebook. And that's how I got my first client. And then it just built and built and built on top of that. So
exactly.
You know,
social media is, in our industry, a humongous tool.
Yeah.
In order to garner any sort of clients. I mean, if it's B2B or if it's B2C, you know, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
You know, I mean, basically, they function the same way. They just do it differently.
Yeah. I think, you know, if I had it my way, if we can go back in time, I would have saved some money and done all the legalities to my business correctly, instead of waiting for, you know, because if that was the case, immediately after the first let go, I would have been like, all right, I would have been in business for myself. I would have been ahead a year. But for some reason, I don't know if it was just timing or the universe, or I don't know how much you believe in all that, I had to wait a full year to come through the cycle and get to where I am today, which was nuts. Right. I don't know. I kind of like, I felt like I wasted a year. When you go back and look at it, I was like, I should have done this right. I should have done it this way. But, you know, I look at the opportunities I'm doing now and the things that I'm working on now. Well, the people that I'm working with in those cycles didn't get to those positions until like the fall anyway. So it would have taken, you know, I guess it's just all timing. But, you know, if you're going to get into business for yourself, save some money, do some research, read some stuff like me. I'm going to have to read what I need to fill out.
And that's the biggest thing, is that you have to sit there. You had your job and you were kind of just doing it. And then once it kind of presented itself, then you did it. I mean, the thing is that you don't want to bite off more than you can chew, especially if you're going into business for yourself.
Yeah, I think it was crazy because I felt like, you know, even when I was working a full-time job, people would ask me, hey, would you do this for me? I'm like, dude, I don't have time to do all that. You're insane. I have a full-time job. But even at my full-time job, I was like bored out of my mind. I'm like, this is like, it's like, I didn't want to go to work anymore. And I think when you start getting those feelings, even at the last job I had, I was trying to come up with ways to get out of work because I didn't want to go in. And I think when you get to that point, if you're feeling that in the morning, you need to really look at yourself and be like, all right, it's time to make a change. Because if I'm not happy getting up out of bed to go and do what I want to do, then it's not worth having. Like now, my life is so much better. So much better. It's the life I always wanted in a way. I get up when I want. I get to my computer and I work. I've gotten into this really weird habit of working into the night. Um,
I've noticed that.
I don't know why. It's one of those things where I'm like, I get up at 9, but I'm up until like 1 or 2 in the morning working on stuff. And then I go back to bed and I do the same thing. And I think when you get into business for yourself, really think about time management. That's a big one. I did not get a good grasp on that when I first started. I was talking to other business owners and I'm like, how the hell do you manage your time? I don't know how to do that. Like, I thought I did, but it was something I had to really, really grasp.
Well,
So,
and that's one of the big things that um, you kind of slapped me offside the head, and
after I figured it out.
yeah, and you're like, why are you doing it this way? You should be doing it this way. And I'm thinking to myself, going, I was like, damn it, she's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And and that's what introduced me to a certain software that I'd played with before.
Mm-hmm.
But um, it's not just managing my own stuff; it's managing like the travel agency, for example.
Yeah.
And um, it just really depends on what you can. I mean, what where your priorities are. It's like, for example, I've been doing an audit of of the collectibles business right now. I'm about to make a humongous sale in regards to just selling off stuff that wasn't going to sell online.
Wow, that's awesome.
And mainly because it just wasn't going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, that, and I'm limited on the room that I have here. So,
Mm-hmm.
hence
Right.
the reason why I'm going like, I wish this pandemic was over so I can get an office.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think we all got some cabin fever going on, but it I mean, I think, and you pretty much said the same thing. You just you were not liking what you were doing, and it was time for a change. I think same for me. I was kind of forced into the change, but it was the change worth having, you know.
I mean, the thing is that, with me, I'll wake up in the morning. I'll first start with doing stuff on my cell phone.
Mhm.
I can respond to it on my cell phone,
Right.
and then I'll migrate over to my iPad, and then I'll migrate to the, my Chromebook, because
Mhm.
I absolutely hate Windows.
Right, right. Yeah.
um, and that's, I mean, it's just a matter of where your progress is and what equipment that you have to work with. I mean, one of the nicer things that I just bought for myself is, a DV camera.
Nice.
And this is kind of the front end accessory to it. So,
Mhm.
you know, um, obviously, I'm hoping to create more content,
Yeah.
um, mainly because, um, in a lot of senses, we are a more service based economy
Mhm.
than we are a an actual items and stuff like this.
Right. I
The
think
thing is,
oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
I said one of the things that people should really think about when they get into a business is that they go into something that makes them unique,
Or
not
have
something. Yeah, that's something that isn't so saturated in the market. Something that's going to make you stand out and make you money. Because I've seen a lot of people go into business. Um, it's actually a blog I was going to write. Is people get into the business? I think people become CEOs or entrepreneurs because on Instagram it looks cool, but they don't really understand the whole concept of it. Is that if you're going to get into something, it's got to make you money and it's got to make you stand out in a way that makes you profitable. And I don't think people understand that.
no, they don't. And the sad thing is that's a large part of our issue as a
Mm-hmm.
society, is basically, you know, they have the idea of, what's referred. There's a book called The 4 Hour Work Week
Mm-hmm.
by the guy named, I want to say his name is Tim Ferriss.
Mm.
Um, and the the business itself is worth it. Um, and I mean, you can get to the idea of a 4 hour work week, but you basically have to automate your business for
Yeah.
36 hours of it.
Yeah. There's no way I could work 4 hours a week there. I mean, the 4 hour work week.
Yeah.
That's 4 hours in 1 week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Well, no, and the thing is that you can't, because a
That's
lot
not
of,
even realistic.
well, it's the money factor, and a lot of people, you know, think that starting a business is easy. No, it's not. I mean, I was reviewing, all the tax information that I'm going to have to work with, because I file semi-annually.
Yeah.
And um, with the pandemic, I haven't made that much cash.
Yeah, I'm looking at my calendar too. I think I have to pay taxes. I have to do foreign. Wait, I don't know. Wait, hold on. The way it works. Oh, okay. Per the fiscal year. So I think you have to pay 4 times a year, don't you?
You can either do 4 times a year, or semi-annually, which would, for me, would be coming up in the middle of, basically as of July 1. Um, but in theory, if you're doing enough volume, then yeah, you should be paying at least quarterly, if not monthly.
Yeah, which is weird because, like we're a really small corporation. So I'm like, we're not making that much money. I don't know how much the IRS is expecting me to give them. That's the conversation I got to have with my tax guy here soon. It's like, what do they exactly do they want? Because I don't understand it completely. So really verse yourself, really immerse yourself into like business tactics, what you need, things like that, because
A lot of what you have to do is
hmm
read your data mining. You're trying to find, um, because there's tons of information out there that is public record.
yeah.
You start a business, guess what? It's public record. So all
Mm.
you have, I mean, you could go to your local city clerk and be like, hey, I want the business list for the last 90 days, you know, or, um, and ironically, you'll get, sometimes they'll say, well, it's kind of time consuming, or some of them will be like, oh, here you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Just get your data, get your knowledge on, and good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and obviously I mean, you could search on the internet for things like, you know, signs that you should be an entrepreneur. And actually, and we'll leave it with this. I'll actually read some of them to you, and you can
Okay.
tell me what you think.
Okay.
Okay. So the first one would be, you're consistently reaching for new achievements.
Yep. Done that. I'm
And
an
then,
overachiever.
yeah. The second thing, you'd like to be in control.
Oh, that's totally me.
Um, you're a born risk taker.
I don't really. I don't like to make risks because I do and I don't. So I mean, I think my whole life right now is a huge risk. Maybe that's it too. I don't know, because when you're in business for yourself, you have to figure out how to make money for yourself, and if you're not making money, then it's on you. So maybe
And
that is.
which leads to my number 4 here. You'd like making your own money.
Yeah. I
Um,
hated the fact that I was making people millions and millions of dollars and my paycheck was still like small.
and then this is another one that goes back to our point of, you don't feel like you fit in.
I've never fit in my entire life. It's so funny. Within family, within like schools, like this is a very I know this is a very deep-rooted issue with me, and I have a hard time talking about it, but I've never fit in anywhere. And it's nuts. Even like my own family. You know, I had my aunt was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I missed your birthday. Happy birthday." I said, "I don't care. None of the family remembers my birthday anyway. I could care less." Even when they were on Facebook, I deleted my entire family because people. It's funny because I have a half sister who has the same birthday as me, and my cousins were all on Facebook together and everything. My cousins were wishing her happy birthday, and I was like, "Yo, today's my birthday too." And then they wouldn't respond back. I was like, and I told my mom, I was like, "Why is this whole family whack?" And my mom never fit in either, and it's kind of funny. That opens up a whole other can of worms. All those people live in Albuquerque, by the way.
Well, and here's the other part too. You know, you, continuing on is
Oh, sorry.
you're an introvert.
You know, I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm an extrovert. Extrovert? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But sometimes I just want to be alone. And I just want to, like, you know, even when my partner in crime is home, I'm like, go away. Go. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
And then the other thing is that you take action.
Mm.
You're good with money.
Mm.
You're tenacious.
Tenacious.
You're confident. You're curious.
Mm.
And then the last part, you see the big picture.
You know what's funny is my mentor had a really hard time teaching me the picture thing because like I was always focused on the now, and he's like, you need to focus on the big picture. And ever since then, I'm like looking at everything. I'm like, oh, you know, even the future of this company. You know, I started MDMC just because I had a really cool side hustle, and the future, the way I see it in my head, is like pretty cool. Like I think the way if it goes the way I plan on it going, it's gonna be amazing. But we'll
Right.
see.
All right. So on that note, um, I think we've touched on all the bases today. What do you think?
I think so too. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think our journeys into entrepreneurship obviously are different, but the conclusion is that you want to do what's good for you and what's going to make you happy.
That's the
So
key. That right there is the key. Make you happy.
yeah, and I'm so done working for people. I'm so done. I mean, I'm just being treated poorly, not being valued, not, you know, I think, and I swear, and like I say, I think my partner in crime said this. He said, I think you had to go through that last experience so you know what kind of boss not to be. And that's
I'll add something to that. He needs to be like Dionne Warwick and start the psychic network.
I you know it, I don't know. Maybe it's because he just cares about me and that's how he sees things because, you know, he sees me through a different lens than I see myself. The whole confidence thing, I don't have that, period. Um, Although I kind of play it off that I do. But he sees me in a completely different light. He says, you don't understand how talented you are. You don't see what I see. And I'm like, of course not. And obviously, no one, because, you know, I said, you're the only one that can see it because no one else wants to hire me, you know? And he's like, it's just something's just bound to happen. He's like, you're off for better things. I don't know what it is. And I don't know if that's just, you know, partner in crime just being supportive or he really does see something. I don't know. I think he's full of knowledge for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, at least he's full of knowledge and not other things.
Oh, he's full of that too sometimes. So, I mean, I don't know. Just have a good partner. Just, you know, have a good
Somebody who has to support you on what you want to do and what's going to make you happy.
yeah, because I don't think I could have done this myself. I'm very stubborn. I've had
Yes,
people
you
in the
are.
past, I've had really close friends of mine who are no longer close friends of mine tell me pretty much the same thing my partner in crime is telling me now. And I didn't want to listen and I didn't pay attention. I'm like, no, and I'm very hard headed when it comes to some things. But, you know, at the end of the day, they were all right. They were right. I'm sorry. It took me a while to get here, but I'm here.
Alrighty. So,
Yeah.
if you like the content we're actually doing, there's that little, like and subscribe button. And on that note, see ya.
Yeah. See you next week, guys. Have a good one. Bye.